Good morning, students. I am Dr. V. Sundarraj, Assistant Professor of Commerce, Department of Commerce, Sri S. Ramasamy Naidu Memorial College, Sattur. Income tax. Today we have discussed income tax. Income tax is one of the main sources of direct tax. Tax classified in two types, direct tax and indirect tax. Income tax under the head of direct tax. Indirect tax, example GST. Okay. Every person to pay if his total income exceeds the limit fixed by the government every year. It is calculated on the income of previous year, but it is to be paid in the consecutive year's assessment year. Every person, our total income exceed prescribed limit fixed by the government, that person compulsory paid tax to the government, income tax department. That person income calculated earning previous year income, but tax calculated consecutive assessment year. Tax calculated consecutive assessment year. Assessee. Assessee means any person who is liable to pay tax, penalty and interest to the income tax authority. Assessee means any person who is liable to pay tax, penalty and interest to the income tax authority or income tax department. Okay. Types of assessee. Assessee classified under three categories. 1. Ordinary assessee. 2. Deemed assessee. 3. Assessee in default. Point number 1. Ordinary assessee. An ordinary assessee is one who has to pay any tax, penalty and interest to the income tax authority. Ordinary assessee, any person who has to pay any tax, penalty and interest to the income tax authority or income tax department. He is known as ordinary assessee, or who is eligible any refund of tax from the tax authorities. Any person eligibility for refund received from the income tax department, he is also ordinary assessee. Okay. Next, deemed assessee. Deemed assessee is also known as representative assessee. This type of assessee is not only responsible for his income, but also responsible for the income of the other person to whom he acts as representative. Deemed assessee, also called as representative assessee. This assessee represents in another person. So, whom he acts as a representative, that person liability also responsible for the deemed assessee. That person tax liability also responsible for the deemed assessee. Okay. Example, deemed assessee for a minor child, deemed assessee also guardian. Deemed assessee or representative assessee also guardian. For a non-resident, deemed assessee agent. For deceased person with will, deemed assessee executor. For deceased person without will, deemed assessee legal care or the eldest in the family. Okay. So, minor, non-resident, deceased person with will and deceased person without will, that person appoint the representative assessee. So, that person responsible for tax payable conveyed to representative assessee. So, representative assessee also responsible for the tax liability, responsibility that person's. Okay. Next, assessee in default. If any person fails to fulfill his duty or obligation, then he is termed as assessee in default. For example, if a person who should submit a return of income fails to do so, then he is assessee in default. Okay. Person. Person includes the following. Individual. Individual means any natural human being created by God. Male, female, minor, child, lunatic, idiot. 2. An Hindu undivided family. Hindu undivided family means Indian culture followed joint family system. So, joint family system under Hindu undivided family. So, Hindu undivided family include the person, one category of person. Point number 3, a fam. Fam means partnership. Fam followed rules and regulations under Partnership Act 1932. So, a fam include person, include under the person. Next, a company. Company created by Companies Act 1956. Company also liable tax payable. So, company include under the person. Next, on AOP and BOI. AOP means association of person, BOI means body of individual. So, AOP and BOI also liable to pay tax liability. So, it's under heading for person. Next, a local authority and municipal corporation. 7th one, any artificial and judicial person. Next, assessment year. Assessment year refers to 12 months starting from first day of every April of a particular year and ending on 31st March of the next year. Current assessment year 2021-22. Current assessment year starting from 1st April 2021 and ending on 31st March 2022. Okay. Next. Important point. Tax calculated on the basis of assessment year. Tax calculated on the basis of assessment year earning the previous year income. Okay. Okay. Income. Income means the Income Tax Act does not define the term income. It has just specified certain things which can be brought under the concept of income. The normal dictionary meaning of income is taken into account for income tax purpose. Is taken into account for anything which bring benefit in the form of cash or kind. Residential status and incidence of tax. Residential status. Residential status, Section 6 of the Income Tax Act 1961 deals with residential status. The concept of residential status is no way connected to the nationality of a person. A person would have born in India, but for tax purposes, he may be a non-resident. A person would have born in India, but for tax purposes, he may be a non-resident. Similarly, a person who has born and brought up in a foreign country may be a resident Indian for a tax purpose. So, concept of residential status is no connected to the nationality of person and into residential status. Okay. The status of a person is identified by considering the number of days he stay in India in a particular previous year. Different routes are prescribed for the residential status of different kinds of assessee. A person can be resident one or two country in the same financial year. It is not necessary that the same status should be there every year. A person can be resident one or two country in the same financial year. Then it is not necessary that the same status should be there every year. The Income Tax Act has divided the status individual into two main categories. Okay. Resident, non-resident. Resident also further classified two categories, ordinary resident, not ordinary resident. Residential status of individual. Individual will have any one of the following status in the previous year. Resident or ordinary resident, not ordinary resident, non-resident. basic condition and additional conditions are two conditions which should be applied in order to identify the status of the individual. Basic condition and additional condition are two conditions which should be applied in order to identify the status of the individual. Rules and relation. Basic condition also applied two rules or two conditions. Rule number 1, individual a stay in 180 days or more during the current previous year 2020-21. Basic condition 1, a stay particular individual 182 days or more during the current previous year 2020-21. Condition number 2, a stay of 60 days or more in the current previous year 2020-21 and a total stay of 365 days or more in the 4 years immediately preceding the current previous year. So, basic condition including two rules. Additional condition. Additional condition 1. He should be resident in India in at least 2 out of 10 years immediately preceding the current previous year 2020-21. Additional condition 1. Individual, he should be resident in India in at least 2 out of 10 years immediately preceding the current previous year 2020-21. Okay. Additional condition 2, a stay of 730 days or more during the 7 years immediately preceding the current previous year. A stay of 730 days or more during the 7 years immediately preceding the current previous year. Okay. Next. Status. Resident. Resident who satisfy any one of the basic condition. Already we have discussed basic condition, two rules, two condition. Condition number 1, condition number 2. So, resident who satisfy any one of the basic condition. Particular individual satisfy or fulfill any one of the basic condition. Condition number 1 or condition number 2. He is called as resident. Okay. Next, ordinary resident. Resident also classified ordinary resident, not ordinary resident. So, ordinary residents identify who satisfy any one of the basic condition and both the additional condition. Individual who satisfy any one of the basic condition and both the additional condition previous year, he is called ordinary resident. Resident and ordinary resident. Next, not ordinary resident. Who satisfy any one of the basic condition but does not satisfy one or none of the additional condition. Not ordinary residents identify individual who satisfy any one of the basic condition but does not satisfy one or none of the additional condition in the previous year. He is also called resident and not ordinary resident. Next, non-resident. Non-resident who does not satisfy basic condition itself. Individual who does not satisfy any one of the both of basic condition. Individual who does not satisfy both two basic condition, he is also called as non-resident. Okay. Already you know, individual have three status, namely ordinary resident, not ordinary resident and non-resident. Individual residential status identify number of days calculated particular individual stay in India previous year. So the number of days calculated, the day of arrival and the day of departure are considered as separate day, irrespective of the time of arrival or departure. Thank you.